Welcome back. Today is Toddler Tuesday. I am a youth services librarian. Mostly I work with young adults, but I'm also in charge of the preschool story time for our library, and I read a lot of children's picture books and I really enjoy them, and I wanted to talk about them here on this channel. So I thought we'd dedicate, just like we do with the graphic novels, a day for picture books. To go with that, since talking about a picture book isn't going to take very long compared to like a long novel or something, we'll also in the future be showing clips from my story times so you can see how I use that book in story time, what sort of songs or finger plays that I would use in conjunction with it, because I love a theme. These might not be really interesting videos if you come here for graphic novels or for young adult, but never fear, you can go back, watch Monday's video, last Monday's video, or you can wait till next week and watch our YA Wednesday. I'm hoping that children's librarians or parents who are looking for new books to read to their kids will find these videos and find them helpful. So our first book is a special book to me. It's called Julia's House for Lost Creatures. It's by Ben Hatke. Before we talk about the book itself, why it's super special to me, even besides the fact that it's great and I love it, here's my hashtag humble brag for the day. Ben Hatke and I are friends. I met him at a conference when his second book in his first series, Zeta the Space Girl, Legends of Zeta the Space Girl, was coming out, and it's just one of those cool things. It's one of those perks of being a librarian that you get to meet some of your favorite authors, and sometimes you get along really well with them and you form a rapport and you keep in touch after you've met each other and you become real friends in real life, and I am lucky to count Ben as one of my friends. Actually, the new thumbnail of this channel is a drawing by him. Really excited to be able to say that. That's so cool. So this is Ben's first picture book, Julia's House for Lost Creatures. This is a great book. It's about a girl named Julia who moves to the sea. She lives in this amazing house that is on the back of a tortoise. Like, that's a mobile home. She gets everything set up just the way she likes it, and she settles down with her tea and a book, but everything's too quiet. So she puts a sign up outside her house that says Julia's House for Lost Creatures, and she gets some tenants. First she gets the patchwork cat, and that's great, but it's still a little quiet. But then things get a little out of control. She gets an actual troll moved into her house, a mermaid, she gets ghosts, little gnome creatures, all these fantastical creatures that I've never even heard of before, and they all show up and things get a little crazy and some rules have to be set and everybody has a great time. And I don't want to say much more because I don't want to ruin anything. I want you to go read it. One of the great things about this book is Ben is great at drawing his main characters, and he's even better at background details. So when you're reading this book, if you're reading it with a kid who wants to hear it over and over and over and over, and yeah, over again, adults aren't going to be bored each time they read it because you notice something new every time you go through it, which I think is really helpful. When I read this book in story time right after it first came out, I did a mythical creature theme to the story time. So our second book was about a Yeti, and we did songs and rhymes about monsters and creatures like that, which was a lot of fun. The kids really like that. We get to talk about what's a real creature, what's a not real creature, and it was a lot of fun. I really suggest you read this, and I suggest you read Ben's other series, Zeta the Space Girl. I give Zeta the Space Girl to anybody who stands still long enough in my library. I like to say that I give it to 4-year-olds, 14-year-olds, and 40-year-olds, and like the vast majority of people like it. I think only a couple people have not loved it, and they didn't like graphic novels, and I am not friends with them anymore. Julia's House for Lost Creatures. Give it a try. Since this is our first video for Toddler Tuesday and we are not filming anything in story time, I thought you know, and also since this is my channel and I make the rules here, we've already established that, I am going to talk about another book. This book is not strictly a picture book, but it is about children's books and picture books. It's called Wild Things, Acts of Mischief in Children's Literature. It's by Betsy Bird, Julie Danielson, and Peter Sieruta is how I'm saying it. I'm probably saying it wrong. I apologize. This is about exactly what the subtitle says, Acts of Mischief in Children's Literature. It is the stories behind the stories, basically. So you get to find out about all of those, you know, the background stuff about the books that you grew up loving, if you are just have a passing interest in children's literature, or if you're a huge book nerd in general like me, this is all the stuff that you're like, have always wanted to know, and I'm a huge trivia hound, so I love to know all these little tidbits, and I'm going to be using stuff about this from this book to astound people for the rest of my life. I'm really excited about that. There are so many great chapters. There's a chapter called There Should Not Be Any Should in Art. It's about subversive children's literature, so artists who refuse to conform to what like critics would say that art is supposed to be, especially for children. There's scandalous mysteries and mysterious scandals, people who maybe didn't write the books they said they were supposed to write, or things like that. There's an entire chapter on LGBT authors and books, LGBT books, and the history of them in children's literature, which was really fascinating. And to go with what we're going to be talking about in all of our books, there's a whole chapter on it. Then there's another chapter on censorship, which touches on LGBT stuff in there as well as lots of other things, language and content and things like that, and the positives and negatives of censorship, both at the publishing level and then at the bookseller and librarian level, and then on the parent level and the children's level as well. There's a lot to delve into with censorship. I don't know if you know that. My favorite chapter is one of the last chapters in the books. It's called Sex and Death. Yeah. In children's literature, I know. So it has all these secret, not secret, but things that I'd never heard of. There's apparently a missing chapter from some of the Rose Ingalls Wilder books about Laura Ingalls Wilder, where there's a whole part on serial killers. Charles and Mary Lamb, who wrote Tales of Shakespeare, which is a book that I've had since I was a little kid, were apparently both crazy, and Mary Lamb killed her mom or her dad in like a murderous rage with some sort of kitchen cutlery. And what? Like, and Charles would just keep a handy, just in case, straitjacket around in case she needed to be restrained. Just so many crazy things that, you know, children's authors are people, and they're not perfect paragons of, like, you know, morals and things like that. So it's really cool to read the backstories of these names that you're used to seeing on your favorite children's books. There is a quote at the end of the book that I wanted to share with you too. It's obviously not spoilery, it's a nonfiction book. So it says, "There is definitely something to be said for children having their own literature, a separate, secret, subversive world of their own. But there may also be some good in having a common ground of reading between children and adults. Books discussed across generations, books that make adults say, 'I remember,' and kids say, 'maybe someday.' Books that provide a bridge and understanding, books we all can share." And I think I tweeted something about this. A parent came in and he asked where a certain book was, and I pointed him towards, it was the Ranger's Apprentice books, and I mentioned something about the movie coming out, and he was like, "Yeah, Lance, my son, is reading them. He's on like the 10th book, and I'm starting them and catching up so we can talk about them." And I love that that's what children's and young adult literature has become. It's something that, and there's a whole chapter in here about that, that they're books that adults can read and talk to their kids about them, like, on an equal level. And I think that's really amazing. Our statistics for these books. Julia's House, it doesn't pass the Bechdel test, but I think that's only because there's just one girl in it and she doesn't really talk to anybody but the creatures who come to live in our house. People of color, once again, one girl. There's Patchwork Cat, and there are robots and ghosts. So
you could say that's diverse.
I think it's a diverse cast. You don't read a lot of books that have that many fantastical creatures all living together in harmony. In Wild Things, there's lots of talk of the LGBT community, censorship, racism, and equality and diversity in books as well. So that really touches on all of those things as well. It definitely talks about women, but two of the writers are women. They talk to each other in the book. There's a lot of, it's a really relaxed form of writing. So there's even like little snippets where they all like ask each other a question like, what do you think the next big theme is going to be? And they talk about things like, one of them, they said sentient cheese is going to be the next big thing. I would read a book about sentient cheese. I mean, there's Stinky Cheese Man already. This book, Wild Things, also counts for my Book Riot #ReadHarder book challenge for 2015. This one, I'm counting it for my microhistory. Thank you for watching Toddler Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back the next time we do one, when we have some more film of actual story time. I hope you do all those nice things you can do on YouTube. Like this video, subscribe, comment below if you've read any of Ben Hatke's books, or if you are interested in Wild Things. If you are interested in what I was talking about with the Book Riot Read Harder challenge, I put the link down below as well. It's a really fun challenge that really, I think, will make me, definitely, and everybody else who's part of it, read harder different things that they wouldn't normally read this year. All right, bye.